Good day to all my fellow marks out there, and welcome to the wacky and wild world of professional wrestling, the only form of entertainment where the most dominant and menacing faction are dressed in fresh Hanes white t-shirts. Grab yourself a drink and a snack, kick your feet up and relax. You are now listening to the Groupchat Wrestling Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 37 of the Group Chat Wrestling Podcast, where the only thing more broken than tonight's episode of Raw is our video software. Yes, instead of our beautiful faces gracing your screens as planned, you're stuck with just our voices once again, because, we're obviously some sort of cursed 1940s radio drama, but with more swearing and fewer fun sound effects. So as WWE is currently airing what promises to be a creatively barren episode of Raw live from Brussels, because nothing screams sports entertainment and electrifying quite like the city famous for waffles, stick with us because we'll find a way to make this mess entertaining, unlike whatever the hell's happening in Brussels. So I am Danwell Casey, your favorite Bandito fan, because he's the best in the world. Happy to be here, guys. I'll let my co-host introduce themselves now.
What's going on, guys? That ball bro Brett here, your American hero, your favorite American podcaster right here. And I did catch the beginning of Raw with the generational heel Cena turn. I mean, it was fantastic. I mean, new song, new outfit, new attire, new demeanor. Psych, just kidding. He came out to the same music, the same attire, the same hat, the same shirt. The promo was very good. It was fire, but of course it's in Brussels, so the star of the promo, in my opinion, was the Brussels crowd because, listen, they only get the show maybe once or twice a year, so they were very amped, very excited for us. Not like us spoiled Americans who get it, 365 days a week, 8 days out of the week, 25 hours a day. So let the Brussels crowd have their fun, with their high drama, high value, and their waffles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
See, I'm the newest full-time member of the Group Chat Wrestling Podcast. Whatever that says about the brain power of my co-hosts. But that's fine. I'm here to stay and I'm going to be hard to get rid of. And they've decided that because they're suffering with me, you should as well. So I'll be here quite often, hopefully. I'm everybody's least favourite Brandon Cutler fan, possibly your favourite as well. There aren't many of us to choose from. And I did not watch Raw because I am far too sensible for that. I will catch some clips later. But I like waffles. I think you're being unfair to waffles. You can shit on WWE all you like, but when you start on the waffles, then I'm going to have to jump in.
Okay. All right. I'll take that back.
Okay.
And I'm Wrestling Mark, and it's 20 days and counting until Swerve is your AEW champion again. And I would like to ask Dan how long he spent writing that introduction earlier on, because it was pretty lengthy and pretty well done and rehearsed.
It's one of them, man. I would say to answer your question first of all, the short answer is it took about 7 or 8 minutes. So, but I as part of my day job, I write for a living. So I think all I need is a bit of creative influence. Say, okay, what's going on tonight? Raw. Well, to be fair, I forgot Raw was actually airing from Europe tonight, so that was on me. Raw, the fact that it's on a Monday night, the fact that the video software's broken, and then I just sort of made the magic happen. So.
Is still going on now?
I believe so, yeah.
Oh, how exciting. Anyway, on to our first subject of the day.
Don't change the channel. Yeah. Well, anyway, so I think, we were all privy to a lot of discourse this week and since Revolution, really, with that Takeshita and let me try that again. Since Revolution, with that Ospreay and Fletcher match, a discourse about it being the best or worst steel cage match of all time, and then one of them, which apparently sort of exceeded all expectations, happened maybe like a day or so later with CM Punk and Seth Rollins, where I think I can't remember who it was, probably I think his name rhymes with Fully Clay, said it was the best steel cage match of all time or something like that.
Say that.
I don't know who it was actually. I zoned out a lot of it because it was just also mind numbing. But yeah,
It wasn't even the best cage match in a 24-hour period.
that's what I'm.
Like, do you know what? Look, I did see the cage match last week. I watched it a couple of days later. Look, it was a good match. It was that's what it was. It was a good cage match. Like the one, I mean, he we know he's a troll. He can't really mean that. I mean, if he does mean that, he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's like I thought Seth Rollins v CM Punk was a very strong cage match. I also sit there and look at the 9 AEW cage matches and think, well, at least 5 of those cage matches were like quite notably better than Punk v Rollins. Like, they're realistically looking at things being very very objective. Well, no, being subjective. They're not comparable. One of them was significantly better than the other one, like quite a lot better. Like Will Ospreay Fletcher, I thought that's the rarity that Dave Meltzer has downgraded a Will Ospreay match. Giving that the bang on 5 stars, I thought was surprising because I would have been. I thought he would have gone nearer to 6 for it because it was that good. And again, people are going to make those comparisons, but like Bully Ray's, like his opinion, it doesn't really count because he's obviously on the payroll, and so like someone like him, what he says, it holds no weight anymore. If you want to listen to him, then by all means do. But what he says, it doesn't have any substance to it. There's no logic to it. There's no depth. You can't take what he says at face value because he's full of shit.
Yeah, Bully Ray's a character at this point. He's not
100%.
saying what he thinks. He's saying what his character would say, and his character is a boot-guzzling moron. So I think you can enjoy Bully Ray the same way you enjoy an idiot heel, but the same way you enjoy Max Caster as a character, you know, the delusional, idiotic heel, but still kind of funny. And you know, there is a car crash element to him every time he says something, and it appears on Twitter. I'm just like, oh God, what's he said now?
But he knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. He does it well.
He doesn't mean any of it.
No, he just says things. It's like Bischoff. They said like Bischoff doesn't watch Dynamite. Bischoff goes onto Reddit, sees what the negative things are saying, and he'll just sit there and regurgitate that. Like Bully Ray's playing a gimmick, and look, it's getting him paid. I don't have anything against him for it. I just think that if you take it too seriously, then that's on you, not on him. He knows what he's doing. He's taking the piss. It's all tongue in cheek. I hope for his sake it is, because I don't think anyone could realistically watch those matches without like hate watching one or the other. Either way, I don't think you can watch both of them and make a realistic comparison with them, because the golfing quality was pretty noticeable. Like they weren't really comparable.
The thing that turned me off actually watching the one on Raw was the fact that they were doing something so dangerous, like it was a superplex from the top of the cage, when actually, you know, that turned me off completely. I'm not going to watch people put their bodies on the line like that.
Is the top of the cage in the room with us now?
The top of the cage. The top of the cage, man. The top of the cage.
So hold up. So if that superplex was from the top of the cage, then the Spanish fly that Ospreay and Fletcher did, was that from the rafters then?
It was from the ceiling.
From the roof of the building? Yeah, the ceiling, right? They literally fell from the heavens. I mean, well, from where I was sitting at, I swear, it's like one of those moments where you're watching a spot and it's like they're in slow motion when they're in the air and they're rotating. Like that's how it looked live. But yeah, I like I said, I only watched the clips of the cage match from Raw. And, you know, I saw it on Twitter, like, from the top of the cage. I'm like, he's standing on top of the top turnbuckle. What are you talking about, man? Come on. Like, it's like him, like whoever says that and Bully with his critique of the steel cage match on Raw, like, basically he's just twerking and throwing it back at WWE. Like, bro, you're already getting the check. You don't have to do tricks on it and spin on it all the time, bro. The check's already cleared. So, I mean, goddamn, But like you guys said, we shouldn't take him too seriously because he does know what he's doing. Like, I don't know if you guys have saw that he said multiple times now that he might go to All In and put a table outside the stadium and like debate with AEW fans. I'm like, bro, you're a fucking WWE employee. They're not gonna allow you to do that. All right, at this point, and if you do, like, you're just gonna get fucking embarrassed over there pretty much. Yeah, like, listen, I'll tell you what, like, I'm going to All In Texas. Like, if that does happen, if he is there, I will record myself. I will step up to the table because I cannot turn down that opportunity for great content, not just for my TikTok, but for the podcast channel. So I will do it for the love of the game, you know?
You'll have to wait in line. If that boy sets up a table and invites British people to come and debate him, Jesus Christ, maybe you should do it, Brett, because one of us would hurt his feelings.
Well, no, All In is in Texas this year. Like that's the show that he
Oh, I
was
thought you were
saying.
talking
Like,
about. Where did I think Forbidden Door?
Forbidden Door is the one in London. It's because we've had it
Yeah.
2 years in a row and we
See-
can't get too
Yeah.
greedy.
Yeah, I forgot you all in Thieving Texans had it this year. I thought for a second
Yeah.
you were saying he was coming to Forbidden Door.
well, Lucy,
There you go.
look
If
at
he
this.
had any balls whatsoever, that's what he would do. He would
Oh,
come
yeah,
to
but-
England.
Well, I'm
Lucy,
surprised
yeah.
he wouldn't be able to set up a table himself. He'd get Devon to do it for him because that's what he did his whole career, and that's the only thing that he did that really
Yeah.
got over.
Devon set the table.
Devon,
Mhm.
set up my fucking podcast table.
I mean,
That's
I
mad.
think Devon's schedule would be pretty open for him to do that. I mean, if we're being perfectly quite honestly.
Yeah. No, you should,
Yeah.
Britt. Yeah, but you should go and pay attention. Just pay him a visit and just watch him. Just kind of like make an ass of himself. But you're absolutely right in what you say. He makes no bones about the fact that he's on the WWE payroll. Like he's paid by them to be on this reality show that they're doing about finding the next sort of young talent or whatever it's called, LFG or whatever it is. He's a
Yeah.
judge on that show, and he's blatantly getting a check from them. So his bias, even if he tries to be impartial, everyone sees through it now. Like it's clear as day, and you just know that there are people just telling him, just make a big deal out of this one spot on AEW because we all know that AEW is like held to a different standard than WWE anyway. But even then, like it's people like him with a bit of a following, with with the Busted Open radio show, with La Greca egging him on and everything. He's just this is just like music to his ears. He'll just do this forever until he stops making money.
I hope he's making money. I hope they're paying him for this because, my God, if he's riding it for free, me and him need to have a little bit of a chat. That is just sad. No way can he possibly be giving it away for free like this.
In it, yeah.
But he was involved in one cage match in his WWE career, or WWF as it was at the time, back in 2001. And that was, I watched his show live, but I don't remember this for love nor money. Survivor Series 2001. Dudley's beat the Hardys in a steel cage match in the well-renowned 3.25 star match on that show. So maybe he's not the best one to be judging what a good or bad cage match is.
No, but as we've got this platform, Mark, I think we are because we've not, we've taken bumps. Some of us have taken bumps. We've been in the ring before. We've not got CTE as far as we know, from all the head damage. Well, we might have done, judging by what we say. So who knows? But I thought, why don't we go through then and just give our favourite and least favourite steel cage matches? And I want to ask the question now, actually. Are we going to group cage matches in like the conventional steel cage matches where you can't get out of the ring? Or are we going to group in like Hell in a Cell or
No
War
Hell in a
Games?
Cell. It's got to be the cage, the 4 sides, no ceiling,
Okay.
attached to the ring. No Kennel from Hell, no Hell in a Cell,
No
Elimination
Punjabi
Chamber.
prison match or...
Damn it!
No,
You took away my worst one.
Well, you beat me to it. Yeah, that spoiler alert, that was mine as well. But
I've never seen the first one. I watched the Randy
no.
Orton Jinder Mahal one live, and I watched it with my wife. We sit there like this is they're really showing this on TV. Like this is actually happening. And then fucking Carly came out, didn't he? And he said, "Yep, I'm having that title. Give it to me." And just stood there and raised it.
Oh, that
It
one,
was-
yeah.
It was the low point of the worst world title reign in history, and I include David Arquette and Vince McMahon's title reigns in that. Jinder Mahal's title reign was so bad, bless him. Not his fault at all. We know why it happened, but that match in particular, fucking hell, it was bad, man.
It was
There's a
horrible.
worse cage match. There is one.
There is a worse one. Yeah, there is a worse one.
And
Well, go. Well, I mean, you can't leave us on tenterhooks like that, Lucy. Go on, just
All right.
tell us what it is.
Let's do the
Okay.
worst ones first.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay, well, I hate any match with an escape through the door, I'll say. But this one, there was an escape through the door, but that didn't end the match. This was in WCW. If any of you remember Hollywood Hogan and Roddy Piper and 97 Halloween Havoc.
Oh,
My God, it
yes.
was bad.
All right. I'm shutting up. I'm giving you the floor. Go for it.
All right, for anyone that hasn't seen this, it is the worst thing you've ever seen in your life. The announcer starts by saying the winner will be whoever manages to survive. So if you're alive at the end, then apparently, that's how you're going to win this. Piper, the babyface, spends half the match biting Hogan in various places, on his head, his arse, his back. Not one wrestling move is done in this entire match. It's just Piper trying to eat Hogan.
He's hungry.
Yeah, and as commentary announce, to win they have to escape the cage. If they can get out the door, it's going to be over, as they both just wander out of the door. They just leave. They just leave through the door and start fighting on the outside. And the commentators have to scramble, be like, oh, they both went out. They both went out. It doesn't count. It doesn't count. Then stings start appearing. One sting comes down the ramp. Another sting is in the crowd. There's just multiple stings. Every 10 minutes they keep adding stings. So they're not even watching the match. They just keep going to the crowd to count stings while this happens. Then Savage appears. He climbs up the stage. He winds his way through the multitude of stings littering the arena, and jumps off the cage for what I can only describe as a top of the cage eye poke. He leaps right from the top of the cage. He misses Piper and accidentally pokes Hogan in the eye, and that gets Piper the win, who manages to lock a sleeper on. At which point Bischoff appears.
I think it was
there's millions of people in the ring. The fans have jumped the barricade and they're just poking Roddy Piper through the cage. Okay. It's absolutely horrendous. And then there's just more stings keep appearing.
That sounds awful.
It's terrible. I've seen it 7 times.
Why 7 times? Why
there was a match on
7 times?
There was a match on SmackDown years ago that I used to keep watching. It was Carmella against a jobber. And it was KD Lang, I think her name was. And it was so bad. It was when James Ellsworth was at ringside. And it was so fascinatingly bad. I kept watching it back. It was just that bad. But can I go quickly? I find this amazing. So as we're talking about cage matches, why would I not be on cage match? I'm always on fucking cage match anyway.
You're bribable, mate. Yeah.
Roddy Piper and Hollywood Hogan got a 0.86 out of 10 for that match. And that wasn't even the lowest rated match of the night.
Yeah, they can get 0.1 for every sting that appears during that match.
The lowest rated match that night, amazingly, was Jacqueline, who I never knew was in WCW.
Oh, yeah.
She beat Disco Inferno in 9 minutes and 39 seconds, and that gets a 0.62.
That's Disco's highest rated match, isn't it?
Good for him.
Probably.
Yeah. Oh,
but, but yeah, I just wanted to add on to the Hogan Piper match. So Lucy, the spot you're talking about with Macho, he actually I think he went for a double axe handle from the top of the cage.
Well,
and like you say,
he hit it.
Oh no, yeah, he didn't hit it, and it's a fucking miracle that he didn't break his legs at all, because the way he landed, how he didn't break his legs is ridiculous. But here's one more caveat about the match. Yeah, Piper won, but the match was not for the title. It was a non-title
on pay-per-view main event.
On pay-per-view main event.
This was at Starrcade, wasn't it? Or was this in
Halloween Havoc?
Halloween Havoc. Oh,
yes.
My God.
Halloween Havoc was often a fucking disaster. That show, it was a year after they had. It was a year after they had Hogan Warrior, I think, wasn't it? In '98.
Yeah. The thing is, as well, is that after this, not only did they have one more singles match, they had 2 more singles matches. I'm mistaken, but they were in the ring 4 or 5 other times. How did they not realize? Actually, we probably shouldn't put them in the ring together, because 1997, that was pushing it anyway. But after that, but then again, this is Bischoff, so this is wouldn't trust him to open a can of beans, mate. To be honest with you, but after that, I actually put a lot of that match out of my mind. But the fact that they had 2 more singles matches not only in 1998 but in 1999 as well, when they were 2 years older, bro, what are you doing?
So for all the fans out there who are complaining that Mox and Copa are going to have a rematch this Wednesday on Dynamite, be fucking grateful that you're getting this rematch. That back for us who had to live through WCW in the mid to late 90s, we had to see 3 to 4 singles matches between Piper and Hogan. So be fucking grateful that this is the worst thing that you had to experience, another match between Mox and Copeland in a street fight, which is going to be 100% better. But real quick, the saving grace of Halloween Havoc 97 that night, the same night you had Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio.
Yes.
I mean, that match was 15 minutes
saved everything.
Bro, this card was stacked that night. On paper, the card was stacked. Kurt Hennig, Ric Flair, Lex Luger, Scott Hall, Savage v DDP. The card was stacked. It's just the execution was, for the vast majority of it, dog shit.
It's WCW 1997 in a heartbeat, man, because they were right. They were doing really, really well. This was the year and this is just before they got Bret Hart as well. I mean, I think at this point, he'd verbally agreed. And at this point, all the things are working in your favor. You're about to do the biggest match of your entire company history in Hogan and Sting, like 2 months later. And they still fucked it up. They had all that star power. They had all that talent on the roster. They had a great cruiserweight division. They had good technical wrestlers like on the roster. They had big names who could still kind of semi-go in the main events, which were never really like as good in the ring, but they still drew the crowds and everything. And then you had Goldberg like less than like a few months later and everything like that. They still fucked it up. This is why you shouldn't trust Eric Bischoff to tell you what is good about booking and what isn't. Yeah, man. It's nuts. But yeah, that Guerrero Mysterio match, that's one of my that's probably my favorite WCW match. But
it's the best WCW match. 100% it's the best WCW match.
Yeah, but then you go taint it with this. You go taint it with this cage match.
Yeah. And also that match, Mysterio, his greatest costume ever, the Phantom, the purple Phantom costume. That's my favorite of all time. But Lucy, let me ask you real quick, like for the lead up for that Hogan Piper steel cage match, was that the match where Piper spent like what was it, a week like in Alcatraz or some jail leading up to the match? Was it that match that he spent like a week in like some, was it Guantanamo Bay or like Alcatraz or something like that leading up to the Hogan match?
Maybe. Was that one, or am I thinking of a different time? Because
I think it was the lead up to the steel cage match. Like it just added to the ridiculousness. Like, you get this crowning moment. Yeah, Piper wins.
I'm thinking, was that not later? Was that not a couple of years later? Or am I imagining? I don't know. Does anyone else know?
Oh, mate, honestly, I blocked out a lot of this shite from my mind, so I couldn't tell you what's left and right, to be honest with you. If Andy was here, he'd be able to probably tell us because he was a bit of a avid WCW watcher at times. But unfortunately, I can't answer that, I'm afraid. I can offer my worst cage match though. If we're talking about the worst steel cage match. So in the spirit of WCW, right? It's not a WCW match.
Are you guys? It's yours from 2001.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Well, no, because I have a little bit of a personal story with this match, because this was, when I was, I guess you could say, most into wrestling, like as I was 9 at the time. So I was really invested. I'd caught the tail end of WCW, and I remember like bits about it. And I was, quite into the WWF at the time, because it was in the UK at the time. There was pretty much nothing else. It was
good shit though, man. It was so much fun. It was chaos.
Yeah.
When you were 9, I was 14 at the time, and it was 15. It was fucking great at that time, man.
Yeah. And it's like, chaos. To me, the idea of the invasion angle still on paper seemed like the best thing ever, even though in hindsight they botched this to fuck. They could have made this so much better, but that's another issue for another day. But this cage match, I rewatched it probably about 2 years ago randomly, because I've got a soft spot for Diamond Dallas Page. I actually met him when I was in Australia like several years ago, and he's the nicest bloke in the world. Like, he's just so down to earth. He really cares. He's just a genuinely good human being. There aren't many like wrestlers from that era who are like down to earth good people, but he is one of them. So I've always got a soft spot for DDP, but the way that they booked him after he was a big star in WCW after all those years, to be like this stalker and to basically be jobbed out to Taker and Kane like this, like knowing what kind of awful people they are now, and what they stand for and who they support and everything. To me, this just feels like a real slap in the face. So this leaves a real sour taste in my mouth. It was just so one-sided. There was no heat to it at all. There was no real story. And it was just bad. I feel so bad for Dallas, man, because he never recovered from this feud, to be honest. When he deserved so much better. He deserved a much better send-off.
Yeah, I mean, I can't jump, because that was mine as well, because it was offensively bad, and again, it was just embarrassing just the glorified job the glorified squash match that it kind of was as well. Just the whole thing, it just sucked. It was horrible. I love DDP. There was just something about him. He just had that swagger, and because he got into wrestling late, he gave everyone belief. I can become a top level wrestler when I'm 40. Fuck it.
Yeah.
So I always had that with DDP. That I always just loved him. And it was horrible. It did nothing for the invasion storyline.
Mm-hmm.
It was a dreadful match. And
It was just a way to pad the Undertaker's ego because, at this, you could argue before he, turned heel and everything, this was where he was just like stagnating and just not really getting the same level of reactions. And he was just slipping down the card. He wasn't really in the main event scene. And this was for, for the invasion. Again, I'm not going to go into this all in detail, but, on paper, this could have been so much better than it was. This had the potential to be like a really, really entertaining kind of feud and match, but it just never ended up that way because, it had to be all about the WWF just getting the upper hand because they're the ones that won the war, and everybody else who was from the opposing company was made to look like an absolute fucking, like the weakest person ever. So to me, that was, horrible. Hated it.
Yeah, that was my. As soon as we said we're doing the worst, that was the one that sprung to mind immediately. It was grim. Can I jump in with the one that came to mind as well? So I'll get my words out eventually. WrestleMania 37, Braun Strowman, Shane McMahon. I fucking hated that match.
I forgot about that.
It was really bad. Like it was. Shane was just, the character he was doing was just really weird. Everything about it just fucking sucked. It was just. I'm not going to go into any more details. Braun Strowman's knees had gone by then, so he couldn't do anything. Shane wanted to do a big stunt. The match was lifeless. The way the match came about was lazy. Everything about it sucked. It was just crap. So I'm not even going to give it more time of day than that. It was just lifeless, soulless, between a big guy that couldn't go and a guy that obviously could never go.
All right, Brett, what about yours? Give us your worst one.
Off the top of my head, like, I don't know, I might get some flack from this in the comments or when we release the audio. I believe it was it 98, 99? It was Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Vince McMahon in a steel cage.
St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
St. Valentine's Day Massacre. And I will say, one of the things that stands out to me about the match, like, holy fuck, did Vince take a horrible back bump to the announce table on the back? Because if you remember how he fell on the table, he didn't fall like right in the center of it like how you're supposed to. He fell back first right on the corner of the table, and he kind of elevated a little bit when he landed, bam, on the corner, and then he fell back down. That shit was fucking nasty. Like, yeah, I mean, it was a general squash match, but then, we had the debut of the Giant, the Big Show in that match, throwing Austin throughout the cage. And I don't know if this is true or not. Was it intentional that Austin going through the cage and that's how he won? Do you know if that was intentional?
It must have been, because he was going to win. If that hadn't happened, then how would Austin have won then in that situation? I think at the time I remember sitting there watching that. It was during half term, so I could actually stay up and watch that one. It had to have been meant to have happened. Surely it was just showing this is how strong Big Show is. When he throws someone into a steel cage, the cage breaks. That was one interpretation ever. Anyway.
And I swear, I think that was the last like cage match, like with the old school blue cage.
Blue one, yeah, it was. The next one was Triple H Rock, Rebellion in the UK. That might have been one, but then Kane X-Pac Steel Cage Armageddon 99 was definitely the chain link fence one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they upgraded it not long after that. I'm pretty sure.
I missed that. They're much better, those ones. I love the visuals of the blue cage when they can put their feet in it properly. Like, it's just separated from a Hell in a Cell as well, having them the same material and everything. I'm a big fan of the old school ones like that. I'd love AEW to bring that cage match in, but it won't happen.
Yeah, WCW used to have the sort of the mesh one. I don't know if they ever had the blue one, did they? Back in like 97 and stuff, they were using the square mesh.
Yeah, in like the late 80s and early 90s, I think they did the square mesh, but then they went to chain link. So I think you could argue, I think they actually pioneered it. Like they were the first company to use it. And then like at the time, the WWF was still using like the blue one, and the squares were slightly smaller, I think.
The Piper Hogan match was the big squares. I've just got a picture of it.
Was it?
Now.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I'm chatting shit then. Ignore me. No, those are good ones. I mean, yeah, the Austin McMahon one, I think you can kind of I mean, you can kind of overlook the fact that it was never meant to be about like the quality of the ring work and everything like that, because it's Austin and Vince, and like the whole story was the more overarching like talking point and everything. But
Yeah.
it's a bit weird in my opinion. Like the beginning of 1999 was really really weird, because that felt like it could have been a Mania match on its own. I know that they ended up doing Rock and Austin, which was the end goal really, but yeah, it felt like that was a bit of a weird payoff
Bro,
to the
nothing made
feud.
sense in early '99.
Yeah, I suppose it's
It was
Russo in it.
Russo. It was. That's when I was watching it at my most I was the right age. It was a perfect storm for wrestling for my age group. Everyone in my year group basically watched wrestling. It was fucking chaos. Like WrestleMania that year was just a 3-hour episode of Raw when it was 2 hours back then.
No.
Like it was just chaos.
Yeah.
Like, there were like 4 heel turns. Like Triple H turned face and turned heel again. There were 4 or 5 heel turns. Like everything was just nonsense. Nothing made sense. The wrestling was completely secondary, not more so than ever. It meant absolutely nothing. The quality of the wrestling, it was pure chaos. It was car crash. It was just Jerry Springer on cocaine. That's all it was. Under Russo, and yeah.
Well, speaking of things that are about like good quality wrestling, why don't we give our best cage matches?
Yes.
I'll go first because recency bias aside, like I mean, I've actually got 2. So the best one-on-one the best one-on-one steel cage match for me was. I actually think recency bias notwithstanding, it would be Ospreay Fletcher. But if it's not going to be that, then the best one for me would be either one of Jack Perry versus Luchasaurus, which was so underrated, Bret Hart versus Owen Hart at I
That
think
one's
it was
mine. Don't you steal that.
Oh no, I'll let you talk about that one. That one's I love that. And a really underrated one as well is Kurt Angle versus Edge from 2002, because their feud was excellent. Loved it. It was I would argue that's what made Edge like a proper single star, like to start with. Yeah, Angle being like the kind of goofy, but also very serious when he needed to be heel was one of my favorites.
He was amazing.
Really, yeah, superb. But no, I think just about my favorite of all time is the Bucks versus the Lucha Bros from All Out 2021. It's perfection from start to finish. It is absolute perfection. 2 teams with like the best amount of chemistry you could hope to have with tag teams. Arguably, the best cage match of all time. It's certainly in my opinion, it is the blood, the high spots, like just the chemistry, the movement, everything just flew by. And what was also quite troubling at the end was, I think it was Penta bleeding on his child. So there we go. I'll remember it fondly for that.
I'm with you. I'll jump in because I mean I'm probably going to say the same as you there, with a very very slight tweak. But yeah, that match is the match, like the tag one from All Out 2021. That is the match that I will always say to wrestling. If I'm getting someone into wrestling, that's what I will show them and say that will make you a believer, because at that point I had never ever seen anything quite like that. It was absolutely insane. Yeah, it was perfection. It was there wasn't a dull second in that match. It was chaos. I couldn't believe what I was watching. It opened up. It was the first match I think that AEW did that was like, holy fuck. Like in terms of like the gimmicks, not including like the storyline, like longing that out and how well they did stuff there. But in terms of like the chaos match, that was the first one I think they did that was that fucking good. That I remember. I might be wrong. I'm sure Brett will definitely be able to pull the trigger on me here if I'm missing a glaring match. But it was amazing. It was wrestling perfection from start to finish. And yeah, again, I'll just quickly squeeze mine in here because I'm not going to have much difference to say to you. But yeah, I'm recency biased as well for me. I think Fletcher Ospreay was. I actually think. I think I might prefer that to All Out 2021. I enjoyed Ospreay Fletcher so much. I'm also going to give a shout out last year because I fucking loved Hangman and Swerve at All Out 2020. I loved it. It was so repulsive. I loved it. I'm there for that. As long as they're being safe, I have no qualms. It was just I was so happy. It felt so dark and awful and barbaric, and I knew people were going to cry over it, and that made me like it even more. It was wonderful. Just a chair shot at the end, just that smashing it over his head, just makes me happy to this day. Swerve is a great hardcore wrestler. He takes a fucking beating, that boy. I love him. And yeah, that's my other option. But again, Dan, as always, great minds think alike. I'm very much in sync with you with the tag match and then the match last week.
It's mad because just really quickly, like that Hangman Swerve one, it can't have been that dangerous. They didn't do a superplex off the top of the cage.
No.
Wow.
Fucking hell. I mean, they can stick a needle in someone's mouth, but they, as soon as you superplex someone from the top turnbuckle, I mean the top of the cage, then you're
He
not doing
wasn't
it
on the
right.
turnbuckle. He was draped over the top of it. He was like dangling.
His legs were dangling on the top of the
Yeah.
cage. I'm like, oh god, reaching.
It was actually
Anyway.
safer than a normal superplex.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Punk had
Yeah,
less
he's
manoeuvring to
already
do.
at the right lever. He's already
Yeah,
at the right
exactly,
angle.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Anyway, sorry. Who's next? Give us more good cage matches that I'm going to go and rewatch.
Go ahead, Lucy. You were going to talk
All
about
right.
Brett and Owen?
All right, I'll go. Yeah, the only reason I didn't choose the Lucha Brothers Young Bucks is because I knew that you guys would. But you didn't mention.
Are we that predictable?
Yeah, but because it is absolutely the best. But you didn't mention the greatest moment in that match when Brandon Cutler heroically throws a bag into the ring with the thumbtack shoe. If it wasn't for Brandon,
How could I forget? I'm
the
so
real
sorry.
hero of that match. And then the moment when Penta gets between Matt and Phoenix to protect his little brother. But yeah, you didn't mention Brandon, so I wish I had picked it. Could have done it justice. But no, instead I went for Brett and Owen because I remember watching it when I was really young and just being so enthralled by the sibling storyline, because I think any parent watching it as well was probably like, yeah, do you know what? Yeah, I get it. If you won't behave yourselves, you're going in the naughty cage. Just get in there, deal with it. And it was, if I remember, it was Brett was wrestling twice that night. He was wrestling Owen and then Yokozuna for the title, because that was the year that he and Lex Luger both won the Rumble. And Lex had to fight Yokozuna, and then the winner would go on to face Brett. And I remember thinking,
That's true. SummerSlam 94, wasn't it? Yeah.
it's not fair because Brett lost his first match and still got to have his title match, whereas Lex didn't. And even at the time, I thought, is that why Brett lost? He didn't go all out. Like, oh, could he not fight his brother? There was just so much to it. And little kid me watching it was so... It's the first time I really, really started to look for meaning in wrestling.
So I have to correct you. I'm going to be pernickety here. So the cage match that you're talking about, Brett and Owen, was for the title.
Wasn't it? Was it?
In SummerSlam 94. So the same year
right.
at
I'm thinking of the other
WrestleMania, Brett was wrestling twice. So yeah,
that's right. It was WrestleMania. But yeah, sorry, the cage match. Then that was the one where
it was the semi-main event, because it was
Undertaker,
followed,
Undertaker.
you beat me to it.
That was it. Oh well, in that case, screw that. I'll have Lucha Brothers as well then. No, that's still the best one.
Again,
I just remember because the whole sibling dynamic, shut
it
them in a
was
cage,
so
let them
good.
fight it out.
It was
Can
so
they-
good. They're
Yeah.
so good together. Like, I mean, Owen was just a gem. Like, he gelled so well with his brother. But matches from like that, like the mid to late 90s. Why did they have to, give us like something of like spectacular watching and of like premium value that we only really got to see seldom, and then follow it with like utter dog shit in The Undertaker versus The Undertaker? Come on, man.
I will point out something that I'm sure was in that match, even though I've got too mixed up. I'm sure Brett did suplex Owen from the top of the cage. And it really was.
Oh my God.
It really was as well, I promise.
So there's something quite symmetrical there with an incredible out of this world cage match being followed by a really, really underwhelming main event.
Yep, that checks out. But
I have to add something to what Lucy said about their WrestleMania 10 match, the Brett and Owen, that you said like it kind of felt like maybe Brett didn't go all out in that first match, because it was either one of two things. Either, it's his brother. Maybe he didn't want to go all out or too hard against his brother. Or like you said, he wanted to save himself for his guaranteed main event, later that night against Yokozuna. You know what that sounds like, guys? That sounds like Brett telling a story in the ring. That sounds
it's almost like he's very good at it.
That, not just
Brett's
that, but
amazing.
all Bretts are amazing, but it's like, how do you say, like, it's a great example that you can tell a story between the ropes, from bell to bell. It's not just promos. It's not just hype packages. It's not just callbacks, to years ago. No, you could tell a fucking story from bell to bell if you pay attention. There is more than one way to, to tell your story. And Brett was one of the early pioneers of that fact right there. But a lot of the older, talking heads for WWE, whether it's Bully Ray or wherever I'm busted open, they will always. It's like they have selective amnesia when it comes to that. You can't tell a story in the ring, but one of the GOATs, Bret Hart, showed in that instance. Yeah, you can absolutely tell a ring from bell to bell.
He was just a genius at it. Like for me, there probably won't be anybody close to his level of like ability to do that. The only exception for me is probably like if we're talking like this era is like Bryan Danielson.
Yeah.
Like he is, and Kurt Angle. If we're going to go between generations,
they're the three generation, mate. That's exactly it. That's exactly how I feel. 90s is Brett, noughties is Kurt, and then the teens onwards is Danielson. I couldn't agree more with that.
Yeah, that they all just are known for being able to just put on a great match with anybody, and yeah, this is why you watch the matches and you see what they do, the little nuances, the little facial expressions, the moves that they do, like the psychology that they have with their opponent. It's all it's the mark of a true pro, like a first bout Hall of Famer in any class like that you could talk about. So. Yeah, I would agree with you there. Bret Hart's the greatest, and yeah, if he wants to do a podcast guest spot, then obviously he's my number one pick. So apart from him and Danielson definitely,
and Brandon Cutler.
And Brandon Cutler. Little fun Bret fact: I still have the sunglasses he gave me when I was a little kid.
What?
When they did a house show at Newcastle.
Nice.
So cool.
I was supposed to be up at the back in the cheap seats, but I snuck my way down to ringside.
That's so
Did my best. I am a sad orphan impression at ringside while trying to look like I belonged there. And yeah, I was there long enough to score Bret Hart sunglasses.
That's so cool.
You clearly struck a nerve. There you go. He
I still have them. The rubber around the rims dissolved, but I've still got them. So yeah.
Before we move on from cage matches, just a quick bit of trivia because I like my stats and whatnot. So do you know how many cage matches there's been in AEW history now?
Is there 9 or 10?
9, good going. Do you know how many there's been in WWE history? If you get this figure right, I will transfer you £15 right now.
88. Go on.
You say 88, Brett.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Luke's 88. Brett's gonna
I'll say 35.
You're gonna say 35, and Dan, you're gonna finish us off with.
I'm gonna go with 100 and 112.
Well, you're the nearest, 931.
What the
fuck? In
Is that
WWE
including house
history.
shows?
Yeah. I just went on the cage match, went to page 10, it said 931. On pay-per-view, there's been about 45, but 931 in total from every TV show, every house show, every pay-per-view, which seems like a lot of cage matches. But
yeah.
Anyway,
it's weird because I remember going to Rebellion in 2001 in Manchester. My dad took me, and I remember the first match on that show being Edge and Christian in a cage. So, and I remember because we were in the MEC, I think it was at the time it was called the Evening News Arena. I'm pretty sure, and we were in not the gods, but like at the top level of like the one below it, basically. I couldn't see shit, so I don't remember anything about it. So I rewatched it on Sky like the next day, and yeah, that I remember that one being decent enough. But yeah, I guess you could say that I don't know if they ever counted anything that took place on UK shows, or as part of like the official tally of cage matches or something like that.
They used the first few times like Capital Carnage and whatnot. They come over. They were glorified house shows. They were just sticking on pay-per-view knowing that we were so thirsty for stuff. But I think by Rebellion, didn't the European title change hands then? So it became like an actual show. Because I remember on Raw every single week when they were going to talk about it, it would be a very obvious voiceover from JR. Suddenly the sound would go, then JR would talk, and it was obviously just being recorded for our audience while he said something else. Nothing happened at the first. They wouldn't reference it on American TV. They wouldn't build to the matches, although they'd usually be intertwined with the storylines. But then I think that was the 2001. I feel that's when the European title changed hands.
So I stand corrected. This was actually a pay-per-view. So yeah, Edge and Christian was a cage match. Edge was the Intercontinental Champion, but he retained. But the other the main event was one thing that I was very happy to see, which was Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock. But by this point, this was a far cry from a lot of their previous work. This was not that memorable in the scheme of things. But the other the other gems that they had on this card included Scotty 2 Hotty versus the Hurricane, the Big Show versus Diamond Dallas Page in a 3-minute squash, a tag team freeway with the Dudleys versus the APA versus the Hardys, which lasted 12 minutes. William Regal versus Tajiri, because obviously he was the only UK star that had any sort of credibility at the time, as far as I know. Jericho versus Angle for the WCW title, and then a tag team match featuring special referee Trish Stratus, Lita and Tori Wilson versus Mighty Molly and Stacy Keibler, which lasted 4 minutes.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
So, nowadays we suffered.
Yeah, I was only there for Edge. I was only there for Edge, to be honest with you. He's one of my favorites. I don't care what anybody says. I'll love him till the day I die. But
God.
I know people are up in arms about Copeland and think he's, for some reason, that he's Hogan and doesn't take pinfalls or whatever. But he tried to put over Griff Garrison, and who the fuck is he?
Exactly.
Fucking hell, man. But anyway, I mean, we had some notes before we started recording about going to talk about All In. So I'm sticking to my guns here and thinking that All In is going to feature Edge and Christian officially reuniting, if they're not already reunited by this point, to take on either the Hurt Syndicate or the Young Bucks or FTR. I know I'm casting a wide net there, but I think All In is where we actually see it kind of happen on like the big stage, because they're going to need, we're going to talk about what is going to be like we can start speculating some of the card and what have you else. But my golden prediction is that we're going to get Copeland and Christian as a tag team on this show.
I think we get them against the Bucks. I think that
I'd love that.
That's the look. I honestly think I in my own head I've got the All In card written out perfectly in my own head, and I've got the journeys there for most of them. This is what I think. It's a big to have a tag team match on pay-per-view that's not for the tag titles is a rarity. It needs to be big. It needs to be monumental. It needs to have that Hollywood feel to it. This does have that. This is like one of the greatest tag teams of 25 years ago against arguably the greatest in-ring tag team of all time. It's got the gravitas to be on that show. The Young Bucks will be able to make the match. The Young Bucks are so good. I mean, not that Edge and Christian need people to carry them by any stretch, but the Bucks can do the majority of the heavy lifting in terms of bumping and throwing themselves around. I just think I don't see what else it goes. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, I mean, I'm going to tail off onto an All In card here. So if anyone else wants to jump in on this, feel free. Because the one thing I want to ask straight away, what everyone here thinks will be the world title match in July in Arlington, Texas.
So I do think that maybe a week ago I would have said differently, but I really do think we're going to get Hangman versus Swerve.
So do I.
So the only thing that, because in the promo that they showed recently,
they were the last two, weren't they?
It seemed intentional when they were pointing at Hangman and pointing at Swerve. Hangman's in the main event. Like the logo is his belt buckle, for God's sake. Yeah. Like he's in the main event. We know it. The only thing is,
doesn't sound good. It sounds like a Dynasty or a Wrestle Dream or a World's End title match. Like Hangman Swerve is the greatest one-on-one male rivalry in AEW history. It deserves to have that moment because it's not just been a great rivalry. Their matches have been fucking sick as well. They've earned the right. Swerve, like Hangman through the longevity, deserves that spot. Swerve has been since his ascent started in like autumn when it started again at Wrestle Dream 2023 against Hangman. Swerve since then has been literal perfection. Everything about him
phenomenal. Yeah,
he's earned the right. That should be in my opinion, that deserves to be the world title match, and therefore I'm happy. Like I said before about I thought I got it in my head. Andy, I'll give credit to. He said about Kingston coming back and then turning and joining them. Fuck that. Kingston comes back. Kingston helps. Like when it looks like Swerve's going to want to help him, Eddie Kingston returns at Dynasty. Eddie Kingston is the one that helps Swerve win. Then you can have the Team AEW, whatever you want to call it. That can be Eddie Kingston and whoever else against the Death Riders. There's your Stadium Stampede match right there. Maybe FTR don't turn. Maybe it's FTR because maybe it ends up being the Undisputed are going to be the ones that turn heel because I think they're better as heels anyway. And then Adam Cole might turn heel when he wins the TNT title this week. I would like to see a Stadium Stampede, Death Riders against Team AEW, and I like those matches. AEW always deliver with their matches, and it gets Mox. It means the Death Rider's got stuff to do that's not based just around the world title, because I know it'll be quite tricky to navigate Mox being that guy and then being that important when the world title's not there. But it's run its course now. It's going to get to the point that it's going to start really turning people off if he keeps the title, in my opinion.
I mean, yeah, the thing is, I would normally have said Hangman Mox because Hangman, it needs to win the world title at All In. So, if the Death Rider stuff had been, if they'd have given it some more juice like a few months ago, where, it would have been taken up a notch and Moxley would still be getting booed, but we'd actually pay to see him lose the title. Not out of this case of where we just don't want to see Moxley walk away with the title now. It's reached that point where people are actually like, yeah, I'm getting a bit sick of this now. If they'd have just sort of changed it a little bit a few months ago and given the Death Riders a bit more new members, maybe some bit more of a little extra level to the story and everything like that.
They had it at one point. Don't you remember how the Elite that time? The Elite was still on the ramp watching them destroy people, and I thought this is fucking brilliant. And then that was literally the highlight of it. Like, it did start well. The turn on Danielson was brutal. What they did the first few Dynamites, it was executed really well. And then it's kind of just potted along since then without really changing course. And if anything, they just look weaker because they've now had a man in his 50s knock them out one by one. So and with a chair shot, and now they're not to be seen from a chair shot. Like we had Toni Storm nearly die on TV on pay-per-view 2 weeks ago. She's been on Dynamite and Collision since, but these men are still off TV from a chair shot. It's run its course. Like, as the main thing, they fucked it a bit. There's no two ways about it. It should have been the best storyline AEW have had since the Elite. And they procrastinated, they stagnated with it. If they were waiting for people, I'm not sure what it was, but it's for me now, and I hate saying it, but it's past redemption as your main storyline arc in the company now.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they are going to go with Swerve and Hangman as the main event, because we know it would be better from a story perspective anyway. But in my opinion, then you've got to turn Swerve heel. So. Because, a face versus face main event Swerve would probably get cheered anyway, but I think you got to have Swerve as recognizing, no, I'm not going to apologize for all the shit that I've done. I'm going to, I'd have him turn on Nana after Dynasty. If he wins the world title, I'd have him beat the shit out of Nana and say, look, you threatened to leave me, because of a stupid robe. I don't need you.
Not. No, I forbid it.
No,
if you want to turn heel,
it's one of them. It's one of them. I think you need a little bit of a clear face heel dynamic in this main event.
I'm happy.
No. Hangman's just cut. MJF is going to be the one to get Hangman out of his funk, and go into Texas to be the old Hangman and win that belt against his biggest rival.
I've had this great idea.
MJF ruins Hangman, drags him down to his level.
Face to face. I've got a great idea. And I've just thought of this off the cuff. MJF could play like a Ric Flair 1992 role in the Ultimate Warrior Randy Savage feud. And we don't know who... No, I'm joking. That's Andy's idea.
Andy's going to kill you if you...
Oh, Andy, I'm just fucking... No, I don't see that. I don't have a problem with face v face. Like the whole crowd being up, half the crowd chanting cowboy shit, half the crowd chanting Who's House. I'm down for it. I'm down. They have they ever done a face? Well, they did it. They did it at Wembley, Cole and MJF, and it worked great. The crowd were the most hyped they'd been for the whole night for that match. It can definitely work. If anyone turns to it, needs to be Swerve. I agree, but I'm happy for them to be two faces. I'm interested to see what the journey is between now and then, because they've got two pay-per-views to navigate and a lot of TV time. But this, for me, feels like the title match. It feels that whatever road they go with, these two will knock it out of the park because they're two of the best performers in the world.
You already, if the plan is to after Swerve wins the championship to turn him heel, you already teased a potential matchup between Swerve and Copeland down the line. So you already have that. You already have that set up for one pay-per-view, and it's
Double
actually
or Nothing.
Yeah, and actually, Double or Nothing is the only pay-per-view between after Dynasty between that and All In. And here's a picture perfect idea for me. Like, Swerve wins the title at Dynasty. He's up on the top ramp celebrating. Nana's dancing all over the ramp, and then the cameras is focused in on Nana, and then out of nowhere, bam, drive-by kick like by Swerve to Nana, just knocking him out cold. And you have they ever closed a pay-per-view just on complete shock and awe in a sense, like as a turn? Like that would.
I mean, the Moxley Danielson.
100%.
Okay, that all right. That, but I'm talking about like, that. But this would give me like, I don't know. I'm talking about as far as like these two love each other. They're partners in crime essentially. It would give me like Gargano and Ciampa vibes.
Say...
I forgot which takeover it was. They're both like celebrating on top of the ramp. You see the WWE the thing in the corner that just signals the show's about to be over. And then he threw Gargano up against the LED screen and stuff like that.
The credits had already started running, hadn't they? Like it was like the CM Punk Survivor Series. They played a little bit in the left-hand corner, so you're like, it's going off there, and it happened.
Yeah, then boom.
If Swerve wins the title, for me, the Dynamite after is going to be Swerve's big title celebration. It will end the show. Festival of Friendship, Jericho, Owens level. They'll be in the ring for the last segment celebrating, and that's when the turn will happen, and we'll suddenly realise, oh, fuck, he's about to kill him. And then he absolutely murders him. That's the way that...
Then what do you do with Nana? Nana's gone.
That's the thing. That's the thing. I agree.
No,
I know. I'm being honest. Last year after All In, Prince Nana had the He was basically the MC for the Sweet Chin Music after party. I want to go to that again, and so I don't really want the heel turn to happen because I had so much fucking fun there last year. Like Swerve, Mercedes, Thunder Rosa. Everyone was there. It was great, and you can't do that if he turns on him. So,
but that's why you got to turn him heel because Lucy's already said it. Mark, you've already said it. I'm sure Dan and the majority of fans feel the same way. You don't want to see it, so you fucking do it. That's why, because it's gonna get majority.
But then, what do you do with Prince Nana afterwards? Where does he go?
So this is my thing. So I was convinced with the Ricochet feud. I was convinced that Nana was going to be the one to turn on Swerve because
that could have worked.
He had the robe and everything, and then after Swerve won the match, and then he got the robe back. I was convinced that Ricochet was gonna because they teased it a couple of times in the match. Swerve hit him a couple of times, and he bumped into him, and he apologized, and it looked as though when he was like bowing and presenting the robe back, it looked like he was. For a split second, he was gonna poke him in the eye or something like that. But they've teased it. Something's brewing. But what if Nana's the one to turn? What if Nana has a plan up his sleeve to get the robe back and then bin Swerve off because he's pointed out how Swerve's not been a champion for since last year's All In. He's pointed that out a few times, and Swerve's become aware, and he's been on this sort of road of self-discovery a little bit. And the feud with Ricochet was fantastic. And then, but what if Nana has a plan up his sleeve all along to give the robe to somebody else? And I would have thought Ricochet would have been the perfect one because, what is an embassy without a prince? And you have Prince fucking Puma, man. But even so, I think my only gripe with it probably will be Swerve and Hangman in the main event, and I'm all for it, and I'm going to look forward to it either way, but. To me, Hangman's got to win, and there's no two ways about it. Hangman has to win. So what you then have is if Swerve beats Moxley at Dynasty, you're having a repeat of what he had last year, which was a great title run. He wins the title at Dynasty and then loses it at All In. And so, it feels to me like Swerve almost deserves better, if you get me.
I agree, but the thing is, I completely agree. I thought about this in my head because in my head, there's 6 people that I want to have 6-month title reigns in the next year, and so it's not possible. Because if Swerve doesn't have a title reign now, Hangman's winning it. Then Hangman is surely going to lose it to Omega. Omega's going to lose it to Ospreay. It's a long time. But Swerve can have this 2-month title reign. Then Swerve can be the one in 2 years' time that goes on and has a third title reign, and that can be a long one. Because if he doesn't win it at Dynasty, he's not winning the title again until I'd say at least 2027.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
I can't see. I see Hangman winning it. He's going to have a 5-month reign. He will lose it to Kenny Omega at Full Gear. Kenny will hold it as a heel all the way through to next summer, and then All in London. That's when Ospreay has his moment. That's my opinion anyway.
Yeah. That seems like the most logical course. Like you need a heel Kenny Omega to win the title off of Hangman.
I think what they need to do though is if Swerve wins it, so if he wins on April the 6th, April May, it means it'll be a 3 month title reign. It's just because the fact there's one pay-per-view, so they need to give him that. He'll have. I think he'll defend it against Copeland on TV. I think he'll have another big opponent at Double or Nothing, and then I think he'll have one more TV defense. So you need to give him like 3 big title defenses in that time, like Copeland, and then not Ospreay again, but I don't know, can
MJF
Fletcher can have a special. Fletcher could have a title match. Ricochet will probably come back and have a title match. They need a rubber match essentially.
This is the thing. It's like it's such a top-heavy card. Jay White, MJF, Christian again, something like that. There's so many people. He's like
he needs to have because there's such a big gap. Let's say he wins the title at Dynasty, which I'm really hoping does happen. Then he comes out the next week. He turns heel on Nana. Then you can have a mini feud with Copeland. That could even be at Double or Nothing. Ideally, you get that out of the way on TV. The match with Ricochet, the rubber match, that happens, and then someone else, an MJF or a Jay White, another big title. So you can say, right. He's only had the title for one pay-per-view, but he's had 3 huge defenses of the title here.
Yeah, man. Like to me, it feels like that's the match to start like selling the tickets and everything like that. But you promised us a little bit of an all-in card. So what other matches have you got on the card? Then?
I mean, I was going to say let's go. I think we can all agree what the TBS title match is going to be, can't we?
Oh yeah, we've talked about that to death.
And, I'm really looking forward to this story, and I'm really hoping. Like the thing is, like I don't know, like this is such a big match. Like this is like a year in the making because they were the 2 that were there with Swerve. Holding
I know
titles.
that was not by accident.
No, 100%. It was absolutely by design. I don't think anyone's going to disagree. We're going to get Mercedes Athena, do they, for the TBS?
No, that's happening. Mercedes, this will be Mercedes' first loss.
The tag title match I'm going to go with. I think that I don't think it'll be a particularly good match, but I think the Hurt Syndicate will probably beat the Murder Machine. I think they'll probably beat FTR on this run as well. I think that they will face the Hounds of Hell for the tag titles at All In. I think they're going to build up the Hounds of Hell to be like the very much over babyface tag team that we really get behind. There's this Buddy's likable, Brody's lovable, Julie is great. I feel that that's what they're going to go with. That's that's just a gut instinct one. It feels like the biggest tag title match they can have if they build the Hounds of Hell up to win 7 or 8 matches between now and then.
Yeah, it feels that way because Lashley's from Texas, isn't he? So he's going to have like the hometown welcome as well, isn't he? So
we need
big match.
Because Lashley's often only as good as his opponent. Lashley's not going to suddenly get a great match out of Griff Garrison. Sorry to throw him under the bus again, and nothing against him at all. Shelton can have a great match with anyone. This tag division needs great matches because AEW were built on great tag matches for the first few years. This needs to be a match on pay-per-view. That's just a meat match. Let's just go for it. Fucking like everyone on top form, go for it. Probably get new tag champs by then. And then that's a tag title match that I'd go with anyway because I think the crowd would be really invested in that because again, as you said, Lashley's hometown. Hounds of Hell are going to be over as fuck if they deliver them right over the next 15 to 20 shows of weekly TV and whatever they do on pay-per-view, they are going to be so over. I think that match could have a Swerve in Your Glory Acclaim kind of vibe to it in terms of how invested the crowd would be in it. Anyone else got any ideas for the tag title match at All In?
No, I'm perfectly fine with that match. Right there.
Yeah,
I think it's about we got about 4 months to that card out. I think Buddy will hopefully be fully healthy by then with his with his ankle injury. I think it was just a sprain that he suffered, so he shouldn't be out that much longer. I'm totally fine with that. But as far as I think you already alluded to another tag team match on the card. I mean, we get Young Bucks versus Edge and Christian. I would be very much happy that it's funny. I had it in my head that if let's just say in another world, if that match was for the tag titles, I would love it to be a ladder match. Ladder match, and then I think I think it was a post I did on Twitter. Like, just imagine that they could easily recreate that WrestleMania 17 match. I mean, that spot with Jeff Hardy. This time it will be Nick Jackson hanging from the belt, and then you have Copeland in the other corner with on the ladder, and that would be so fucking beautiful because it will be Nick that will be dangling from the
I don't think Matt Jackson's lower back could take anything like that.
No, it was crazy to do it. He just turned 40. He's 40 now?
It's nuts, isn't it? And do you know Toni Storm's 29? Sorry to jump in there. Toni Storm's 29 years old. How is she that good? It's just pathetic, isn't it? It's ridiculous.
Insane.
So speaking of Toni Storm, do we like what the one match that I genuinely have no idea where they're going to go with? It's the women's title, the main belt, the main women's title
So,
for All
Would they
In. I have
drag out
no
Megan
idea.
Bayne that long? Surely not.
It's,
well,
like
I
I'm
wouldn't
so
be
torn what
surprised.
they're doing here.
I wouldn't be surprised if Megan Bayne beats Toni, you know. I wouldn't. The way they're building her up, it's much. They clearly learned from their mistakes with Camille, which I thought was that they screwed her big time. I think, you know, in terms of her presentation, because she was, you know, they gave her a random match against Statlander on like a Halloween episode of Dynamite, and then she hasn't really been seen since then. And
Can
I
I
know she's
say
been
in their
filming and stuff
defense,
like that,
she
but it's.
seems a bit crap.
I mean, well,
And
Megan
some of the
Bayne's
comments she made
Megan Bayne.
online, a lot
Yeah,
of
as a
people
person,
were
not for
Agreed.
not
me, get in the
keen.
bin.
Agreed. You know, it couldn't have happened to a nice person. But the point is, they clearly got someone who's more talented, of a similar size, a similar sort of aesthetic presentation, but is better in the ring. Megan Bayne, to me, I wouldn't be surprised if she beats Toni at Dynasty, which seems to be the direction that they're going with, where it's almost not a squash necessarily, but sort of like you know, Brock and Cena from SummerSlam in when was
2014.
it? 2014.
2014.
Where
Yeah.
Megan
No,
just
I
wins.
want a squash. I want a squash. I want Megan, like you said, the presentation, the way they've been building her has been phenomenal so far. I say you're kind of due like this shock and awe moment in the match, like where one of your heroes is just getting utterly destroyed, like from bell to bell, like a 6-7 minute match. Like maybe you give Toni Storm maybe one hope spot, you know, in between,
Yeah,
like maybe
that's
a
what
little,
I mean. Yeah,
a little bit of glimmer. But I'm saying you hit Toni Storm with like 3-4 F5s. Like she doesn't kick out of any of them. I'm saying hit her with F5, pick her up, F5 again on the third, fourth one, pin her 1, 2, 3. You get that shock and awe look in the crowd. New AEW Women's title, and then we fast forward to All In. Obviously, she'll be destroying everyone in her path. All In, big stage. You know, I say, give me Megan Bayne and Willow at All In.
yeah. I mean, the thing is that I kind of Andy's put this idea in my head now about how Megan Bayne needs to go on this undefeated run of a
I agree.
lifetime, like what they did with Jade, but you know, with someone who's like 40 times as talented. So win the belt and just blitz through everybody, because the division is so stacked. They got so many talented people on the roster that she can have, you know, a meaningful feud with Toni. Toni can go away for a little while, you know, whether she's doing more filming or whatever, I'm not 100% sure, but she doesn't need the title like right now, if you ask me. Like I personally would have had Mariah win, but that match was perfect. I'm not going to get into that. It was perfect. I loved every minute of it, but I think that Mariah there's still something bubbling there, because she did say, you know, when they were doing the Casino Gauntlet, when Megan made her debut, and she said, where's her All Elite graphic? So I think something's still afoot. I don't know, maybe Tony's forgotten about this already. Maybe TK's like just said, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And maybe I'm just chatting absolute shit as usual, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was Mariah's backup plan, and this was her way of getting the title back all along. And she Megan Bayne is essentially working for Mariah. Yeah, and in like 6-7 months down the line, she's forced to hand over the belt to Mariah again, and then but without essentially like losing. Because I don't want Megan Bayne to like take a loss yet. I don't think she deserves that. She needs to go on like this Vader style, like superhuman kind of run. And if she's had the title, she needs if she's whoever she's going to lose it to, it needs to be a star making moment. You know what I mean? So personally, I wouldn't whoever she faces at All In. It's not the big match. I think she should face Jamie Hayter personally at Forbidden Door, where Jamie loses, and then from there it's again, you know, she nobody can beat her, and then who else is who is the one to beat her? I think eventually I would say Willow. So I don't think she should fight Willow at All In just yet. I think Willow's title win needs to be from, you know, like months and months from now.
I think A lot of things. I don't think that Megan should win the title just yet, but I don't know. I'm hoping if she's going to at Dynasty, there's a long-term plan in place, because it feels to me she could have run through the division a bit longer. I do believe there's a chance she's intertwined with Mariah May. I think that kind of does make sense, the fact that Mariah's been off TV. I'm interested to see what that dynamic's going to be if they do join up. Looking at All In, if Toni's still world champion, I think that's when she'll lose to Megan Bayne. If Megan Bayne's champion, I think she'll probably defend it in a multi-woman match, in a four-way or something.
Yeah,
The division's going to build up, like, how do we stop her? And then she's there, fuck it, I'll take you all on. And then she faces Toni, Hayter, Statlander in a four-way and retains it.
Yeah, definitely include Statlander there.
that.
They're not finished. I mean, Megan Bayne beat Chris, but she had help from Penelope Ford, which is like, does she really need that?
Yeah.
I think she'll want to face Chris again just to show that, no, I can beat anybody and I don't need
They're
help.
fighting on Dynamite.
Yeah. So I still don't think they're finished. I think Penelope's going to get involved again. And I don't put them in a cage.
Yes. All the
Or a
cage
dog
matches.
collar or...
Don't get me started on
To
dog
me, it
collar
would be
matches.
Chris Statlander that I would eventually, have her lose a couple of times to Megan Bayne. Megan has help. Eventually give Megan the title. Then Chris takes it off her inside a cage when it's just the two of them.
I think it's Statlander that beats Megan. I think that's the deal. The fact she's losing to her twice, because I think the lineage personally will be Toni to Megan Bayne to Statlander, Statlander to Willow to Mercedes.
That's quite a lot of title changes.
That can be over the next 2 years.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I say, let's say Megan Bayne wins it now. I think Megan Bayne potentially holds it all the way through to Full Gear. She's unstoppable. Loses to Statlander then.
Yeah.
Statlander can hold it till next Revolution or Dynasty. Lose it to Willow. Then Willow can lose it to Mercedes at All in London 2020. Whatever that'll be, 2026. Jesus, 2026. Yeah. So I think that's my long-term plan for the lineage of that. But anyway, so the rest of the card, we're pretty sure we're going to be getting Kenny Omega against Danielson, right? Kenny Omega v fucking Okada, sorry.
Kenny Okada, yeah. And
that
I think
seems to be a shoe-in.
Yeah.
And are they uniting the titles?
Yeah,
Yes,
they are.
the international title. The international title has been great. It's been so good for AEW. I was looking through it earlier. I was sitting there on Sporkle earlier when I was doing like the lineage of all the titles when I was pretending to work when I was in the office. And the international title's been great. Like it's had so many highs. Like apart from that little botch bit when Phoenix and Moxley had it, apart from that, this title's been delivered perfectly. It's clearly their second major title now, and so yeah, I'm hoping they just spin off the Continental title. The C2, you've won the trophy. You don't need a belt for it. Not everything requires a belt, Tony.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. Just make it a trophy. But man, I tell you, whoever predicted a title unification match, like that guy's a fucking genius. That guy should be booking the show, But I digress on that one.
I know. I agree. They should definitely have the Continental title.
The name's right there. It writes itself, doesn't it?
Intercontinental champion. Tony Khan, be a fucking man. The AEW Intercontinental Championship, and you make it, and you have a white strap on that bitch, man.
So the burning question for me, so we've covered a lot of this. There's one person who who the fuck is Will Ospreay facing at All In?
All in Texas. So
yes,
I mean, to be fair, you could put him with anybody. And
I think he's going to fight Danielson. I think Danielson's going to return and fight him. I think he's going to be Ospreay Danielson.
I want you to be right, but I mean,
yes, I'd love it. I think you alluded to the Stadium Stampede. So the Death Riders, Moxley, Claudio, Pac, Wheeler, and somebody else, Jack Perry, let's say, versus Team AEW. I think Danielson's on Team AEW personally. I think he and Eddie Kingston put their differences aside.
They shook hands at the end of Revolution 2024.
Exactly. Eddie got hurt, and they never teamed together after that. They sort of went their separate ways, and then Eddie lost the Ring of Honor title. He lost the Continental title. And then he got injured, losing the New Japan Strong title. And then,
let's even say it's a 4-on-4. Let's ignore. Let's just say it's the Death Riders 4. We've got Mox, Yuta, Claudio, Pac. If it's those 4. Who's 4 to face them then? Let's say Eddie and Danielson are 2. Who
Darby
are the
Allin.
people?
Darby is back.
Yeah, Darby.
I think if he had climbed Everest last year as planned, we'd be talking about him for the title match All In. But obviously,
Yeah.
didn't go
I
to plan. So
prefer
I
what
think
we're talking
Darby.
about now to him winning, if I'm being perfectly honest. I don't mind Darby having a title reign at some point, but again, it's a Mick Foley title reign for me. It's like, I love when Foley won it on Raw. I love when Foley won it again at the Super Bowl halftime show. I love when he randomly won it at SummerSlam later that year. But I don't feel that Darby, in my opinion, he's like Hangman is more merit. This is the biggest show they've done in America. This will be what Tony Khan sees as being their biggest show, bigger than Wembley, I think, doing a stadium in the States. So I think Hangman is deserving of that moment more than Darby Allin by a distance, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree, but I think he'd definitely be a part of like that team AEW, Darby, Eddie, Danielson. If Orange Cassidy isn't heel by this point, on the Death Rider side with his leather jacket, I'd say he's a shoo-in.
I think that
for the
ship sailed
babyface.
now, dude. I really think that's done now. We wanted it, we hoped for it, we thought we got close to it, but I don't see it happening now. Orange Cassidy's a good person to have there because what Cassidy deserves to have a big spot. So that's a strong team. That feels like it feels like a relatively well balanced match. You've got Darby Allin and Wheeler Yuta as the smaller, nimble guys. You've got the heads of the family essentially in Moxley and Danielson. You've then got Eddie and Claudio who would just love to tear each other's arsehole to shreds, not in a sexual way. And then you've got Pac and who else did you say?
Orange
Cassidy, who had a nice feud for the international title a while ago. So
they've a beautiful match. Yeah.
You got in that match by itself. You got three or four like internal blood feuds going on at the same time. And listen, if it's a Stadium Stampede match, Darby's going to jump off of something, so he needs to be in that match.
He's going to jump off of the stadium. He's going to jump off of the stadium. I'm sure they're going to talk him down from the arch at Wembley.
Oh God! But you were talking about opponent for Ospreay.
Ospreay, then
So like in June, I believe that's when they're going to start the Owen tournament, which will be for the number one contender for the championship. I'm going to assume it will be Hangman to win the tournament, so he can face Swerve, who will be coming as the champion. So I think, listen, the biggest possible opponent for Ospreay at that point. We haven't gotten a 1-on-1 between Ospreay and Jay White yet, right?
Not in AEW. Not in AEW. I believe they've had a couple in New Japan and G1s and stuff. I will quickly consult Cage Match. Carry on.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I think that'll be the spot for their first time AEW match. Ospreay and Jay White in All in Texas, I think would be a good shout.
They've had one match in Ring of Honor in 2017. They've had 2 singles matches in New Japan. Other matches that they've had have been in tags and so on and so forth. But yeah, that would be the first AEW match between Jay White and Will Ospreay. I'd fuck with that in a heartbeat.
And MJF, what do we do with MJF?
That was what I was just looking up. Yeah, as MJF, because he's fought Ospreay, but only the once. I suppose they could run it back.
They fought twice. They fought twice in the 1 hour match where he won, where he retained the American title, and then Ospreay won it back at All In last year. Yeah. And then of course he did. I think MJF's cooking something. I think MJF's got his own stable brewing. I mean, we've been chatting about it in the chat. I'm not going to steal Andy's thunder. You'll have to tune in another time where Andy can talk about it. But yeah, I think this stuff that he had cooking with MVP, I think his feud with Hangman will sort of continue for the next few weeks. But I think this, one of his old stables was called Dynasty. That's all I'm going to say. So I think there's something afoot with him. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him, in some kind of big multi-man tag match with his stable against, who's another big babyface? Who's a babyface?
There's not babyface stable, is there? Really?
There's not really, is there? That's just a good point, actually.
There's none that seem like there's still a few, like, I don't know. I think MJF, right, again, his contribution, I do try and look at this from like the business point of view and the way that I think Tony Khan probably thinks. That I think MJF has given so much to the company. He deserves more than to be in a multi-man match on this stage, in my opinion. He's been one of the, like, if you talk about legitimate pillars, then you're talking about Hangman, obviously, and then MJF's the next name on that list. For what he's achieved, for what he's done for the company. But I'd be happy with him and Ospreay on part 3. I don't know how you get to it, that's the thing. But I mean, what 4 months to get there? I wouldn't turn my nose up at that, if I'm being honest, because it'd just be a good match.
Well, we'll have to tune in. I think Dynasty is going to really shape what happens at All In. But In the interest of time, everybody.
I'm sorry,
sorry,
real quick. Can I throw like a quick wrench like into the Ospreay Jay White match that I threw?
Do it.
Maybe a potential triple threat Ospreay Jay White MJF. The winner is the number one contender for the AEW World Title.
For the title at All Out, whenever that is, or Forbidden Door rather.
Forbidden Door's the next one, isn't it? Yeah.
So Ospreay wins and goes to the main event against Hangman, but loses, and then, like you said, he wins the title off of Kenny the following year. So Ospreay loses in the main event at Forbidden Door. That I'd fuck with that,
Yeah,
I'd love that.
And I don't know if we're still building the all in card the TNT title.
Yeah,
which I think Adam Cole's
winning shortly.
I think he's gonna win it over the weekend.
I think he's gonna win it. I think he's gonna turn heel whilst winning it as well. I think he's gonna do Danielson AJ style. I think he's gonna kick him in the bollocks.
Man, well, for my idea for the match at All In, I don't want him to turn heel because I would say All In Texas for this guy's first title win on the main roster. I say, what about face Adam Cole versus Kyle Fletcher? And Fletcher beats Cole at All In, wins his first singles gold.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
I'd like that. You could put Kyle Fletcher with anybody, and he I mean, Will Ospreay and Don Callis have done a wonderful job at making him like a really big deal. I'm really interested to see what he's doing next. Yeah, I'd love that. But yeah, I think Adam Cole, he's got to win the title. I mean, I don't hate Garcia. He's a good wrestler. He puts on good matches. I like him as a wrestler, but his TNT run just hasn't done it for me. Since he's won the belt, it's been on par, if not worse, than the Jack Perry run.
The title's been shit since Cope got injured.
It's just,
Cope did a good job with it, and it's been crap.
Christian and Cope did wonders for that title, and it's a shame that it's ended up the way it has. But I don't know. I mean, I like Adam Cole. He seems to have really turned a corner, and he's in great shape despite what people have said about him online over the last few months. He's a good wrestler. He seems to be sort of shaking off a lot of the ring rust now. I don't know. I think TNT is about his level. I don't see Adam Cole anywhere near like the top of the card anytime soon. So I think TNT is about his level. And I think as long as they do something, I think he is turning, because I think that's where Adam Cole's most effective.
100%.
As a heel. I'd like to see him go on like a really good run and hopefully defending the belt every week, if not like every like 10 days or something like that, across Dynamite and Collision. I've quite enjoyed this whole feud that they've had, but yeah, it does feel like someone is turning, and to me the odds are in favor of Adam Cole being the one to turn. Because it's weird, because like we've had a few questions from like Discord followers about, one of them was about like, is FTR turning after the Undisputed match? The rubber match. I'll be honest, confession, I haven't seen Collision yet. I know the results. I haven't seen it yet, but was there a tease? Because FTR won, as I understand it. Was there some
same
kind
as last week?
Okay, fine.
There's nothing new.
Okay, so in a rubber match or something, someone was asking, are they gonna turn? No, I think Undisputed Kingdom's got a turn, to be honest.
I think we see the FTR being laid out in the back. I think Undisputed. I think they're a better heel faction. They're a good heel faction, and then Cole can have this run. Then after that, you put them in the trios division. If the trios title still exists, then you put them in the trios title. Like put them in there. Like they could have a nice little feud with Joe, Hook, and Shibata. To be fair, that could work down the line. Because they've got to get those trios titles. That's what I was going to go on to. Like finally, the trios title's going to be defended. Then the trios titles barely exist anymore.
Well, that ties in another question from the same user, Blackfire, said, is the trios division coming back after hiatus? It does seem that the Ops are next in line to win the belt. Just at Dynasty, put the Death Riders in with the Ops and have them win, have the Ops win, just defend them regularly, because they're, I like them. I hate the name. I like them as a trio. Shibata and Joe are like fantastic. Hook is but that's by the by. But yeah, I don't know. If you're going to keep the trios titles, just have them on the Ops, because they're like probably like the most over trio at the moment. It's such a shame, because a couple of years ago when we had like the House of Black, the Elite, we had like the
Dark Order,
Bullet Club Gold, like loads of trios. Like it had like real purpose and momentum, like Death Triangle as well. I miss them. And then now it's just ever since the Acclaimed won it at Wembley 2 years ago, it's just taken a sharp nosedive, to be honest. I've just not vibed with it at all. Such a shame.
Yeah,
Hey ho.
agree.
So, did we flesh out that all-in card?
I think so.
Yeah.
So I think if we rattle through quickly what we've got, so we've got the world title, Hangman Swerve. We've got Mercedes against Athena. We have potentially a women's multi-woman match with Bayne already as a champion at that point. Hounds of Hell against the current tag champs, the Hurt Syndicate. Potentially Cope and Christian against the Young Bucks. A Stadium Stampede match, which would be the Death Riders against a very, very sexy team of Danielson, Eddie Kingston, Darby Allin, and I've forgotten the fourth person again.
Orange Cassidy.
Orange
Cassidy.
Cassidy. Sorry, Orange. I'm not forgetting you on purpose. I'm sure you won't be too offended. I'm sure you won't hear this. And then we said we know we're going to get a card of the Omega. We're then thinking with Ospreay, we're kind of flirting. Will it be MJF? Will it be someone else? And then Adam Cole for the TNT title against Fletcher. That seems to be the bulk of a card, and it's a pretty fucking good card if that's what we get at the end of the day.
Yeah, and just as long as you throw in some lucha madness on the 0 hour, because it's in Texas, it's close to Mexico, give us a CMLL kind of showcase with like throw in Commander and Hologram, throw in LFI if you can, throw in Bandido and just have Bandido
Beast
win.
Mortos, yeah.
Beast Mortos, yeah, exactly. Just throw in some kind of lucha madness match.
And if the women's title match is a singles match, I would like them to do a casino gauntlet for the number one contender for Forbidden Door with the women, and then get 15 women in the fucking ring, get CMLL women, get the women coming over from Stardom, get
Persephone,
in there.
get Persephone in that match from CMLL. If you don't know Persephone, look her up.
She was in the 4-way at Wrestle Dynasty, wasn't she?
Yes.
Yeah, she was wicked in that. She was absolutely wicked.
And I would say have that happen for Forbidden Door, and then it potentially will end up going down to Mina and Mariah as the final two or something like that. That's if we haven't got a multi-woman match beforehand for the women's title, because they didn't give the first women's casino gauntlet anywhere near enough time. They rushed through it. It felt like a box-ticking exercise. It was kind of annoying. Well, it was very annoying. So redeem that, put it on the big stage. Again, we need, if it's a big card, you need a couple of gimmick matches in there. So you need, we've got the Stadium Stampede, you need something else. Everyone loves a casino gauntlet. Everyone loves the random surprises they can throw up. Get that in there and redeem the lame effort you shoved on Dynamite early this year that was the second shortest match of the night.
It's nuts. Yeah, it's a bit of a disgrace, really, when you think about it. But yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was. But yeah, throw it in at All In, and like you say, just make it a bit of an international showcase. Throw in some CMLL talent, throw in some Stardom talent, throw in some Ring of Honor talent. You name it, make it a big thing. But Willow's got to win. Willow has to win everything. That's my logic. Listen, everyone, we've got we've gone about an hour, just over an hour and a half. So I'm going to rattle through a couple of questions because we had some really good ones. We've answered a couple of them over the course of this episode. So one, this is probably one for you, Lucy. What if Tate did nothing wrong? Does that mean anything to you? Because I'm going to let you answer that.
God, he has done many, many, many things wrong. He's not least what he has done to my beloved Session Moth Martina, the whole classy Karen thing. But have you been keeping up with the Tate Mayfairs, Eddie Dennis story that's been going on in Progress?
Yeah, I have. Because I'm going to go to Progress at the
boy.
end of the month, and where they're going to have the match. What is it? Last man standing match. I think it is in just over 2 weeks, just under 2 weeks.
Yeah. I was there for the match with Manders, one called Manders, and I made a little bet that if Tate wrestled clean, win or lose, I would change my Twitter bio to say Tateness is greatness for a month. I can now change it back. I can put Brandon back on there, and he did. He wrestled clean, but I'm not convinced. I think, no, I think there's no way. There is no way Tate can keep it up much longer. He's got to be going through withdrawal symptoms now. Now we're gonna see the real Tate Mayfairs come out again soon, and it's not going to be pretty.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
No. Tate is a bad lad. Tate did many things wrong, more than Hangman.
Oh yeah, I forgot your team Swerve over Team Hangman. I forgot about that.
Absolutely, yeah. For anybody listening that doesn't know who Tate Mayfairs is, Kind of imagine like MJF with slightly better dress sense and a vastly worse attitude.
Ooh.
Given like 5
Whoa.
minutes on a live microphone, and Tate Mayfairs could make MJF cry. That's how obnoxious he is.
Think of all the tag team partners that Eddie Dennis has had. Tate Mayfairs is the best one. Let's put it that
No.
way. Oh,
Best is subjective. He is a
Subjective.
bad boy.
Oh, great answer that. Okay, well we've kind of answered that one about an MJF stable. I'll let Andy answer that when he's back. So, Mark, this is a question for you. What pro wrestler would make the best new AFTV member?
Wow, okay, that's an interesting one. Which AEW wrestler would be good for Arsenal Fan TV?
If you consider the cast of characters that show's had.
Arseholes mainly, like there's parodies of Chris Jericho.
Fair enough.
There we are, Chris Jericho. Like he's like more annoying than he realizes. Doesn't realize how many people are annoyed at him. Doesn't realize that people don't tend to like you, even though people are paying attention to you. Just a bit of dilute. I can say all this stuff about Jericho because Andy's not on the pod. But with steam coming out of his ears when I criticise Jericho, so I've got free reign to batter Jericho for a minute here. But yeah, Jericho resembles. I'm an Arsenal fan. I hate Arsenal Fan TV because I think it's an embarrassing representation of the club. And in 2025, maybe I'll find Chris Jericho to be an embarrassing representation of AEW.
That was scathing.
I'm a Jericho fan, so
that was well over the top. I'm only playing. I don't mean it to that extent at all. I'm just trying to wind Andy up when he's listening to this.
Yeah.
So I want to know if Andy's going to listen to this when he's not on it because I've given enough. I've given enough like little nuggets here for him to bite at me if he does. If he does,
he will
properly.
You know he will. He's the one that does the upload, so he'll listen to it afterwards.
Oh shit!
And he'll bombard you. So just mute your phone, hide your phone for a few hours.
I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning with a 13-minute voice note, and
don't wake up, fucking stay awake.
But no, Chris Jericho, or I mean, he's one that comes to mind for that. Arsenal Fan TV is horrible for Arsenal fans, and maybe maybe Chris Jericho is horrible to quite a few AEW fans at present.
It's one of those ones. Just jumping in as a non-Arsenal fan, I've watched AFTV, and you can just see it for what it is. Really cringe, like childish humor and everything like that. But as a neutral, when at the time when you look at it from the late 2010s when things weren't always going so well in like Wenger's last couple of seasons and what have you, it was a bit of a joy to watch everyone sort of melt down like that.
Of course, if there was a Spurs equivalent, I mean, not that people would pay that much attention to Spurs because they're Spurs and no one pays attention to Spurs, but I'd very much enjoy that if they had like a well-known like podcasting or YouTube like collection, like because of how bad they've been this season. I'd love it. I'd watch that and just watch them all melting down on TV, 100%. But when you're there, and you know they're capitalising off of your misery with false misery, essentially, just misery to make bucks. And when you actually are suffering, or suffering is it's a bit of a draconian way to look at football, but you know what I mean. You do suffer as a football fan. It's something that proper Arsenal fans, think is a pile of shit.
Mm-hmm. Well, that covers that. So, this is a question for the room. Do you think Toni Storm goes down as the best female wrestler of all time when it's all said and done? That's from Lomax, good friend of the pod. Do you think Toni Storm goes down as the best women's wrestler of all time? She's put herself in a great position too. I think based on this Mariah feud alone, that she's in the conversation. She is taken this gimmick, which I was skeptical about at first, and then she's made absolute gold dust with it. I'm going to say that I think as a performer, as a character, yes. Mm-hmm. I say that it's very hard at the moment to look at anyone else that you can say for the character work and the emotional investment you've got. There's anyone else that you can compare to her. And while I'm not making comparisons of Hulk Hogan like to any stretch, but Hulk Hogan was famous and he's the best wrestler in the world. No, he's not. He's actually not a good wrestler. Tony's a good wrestler, but Hogan was the character. It was the larger than life. It was all that stuff. Because like Tony will never be like, in my opinion, like Mercedes in the ring. To that level, I think Tony's brilliant in ring. I think Mercedes is on a level of her own personally. But I think for a character, I think that Tony definitely has
has put herself in a position in when we look back, she's going to be looked back as that was the greatest female performer of all time.
Yeah, agreed.
I
All
would agree with that.
round, I'd probably give it to Toni Storm.
And Toni Storm, I'm not for a minute. She's a fucking brilliant wrestler. She's easily top 10 in ring in the world. I'm not dismissing her at all. I'm just trying to think of like this, like, and again, she's having good matches, but we remember so much about this period. And while, again, we're going to remember the match obviously the other day for a lot of reasons, but the majority of the run, we've remembered it for the character work and for the storylines and for the incredible promos and the delivery and everything that she did down to perfection. Obviously, there are matches like every match with Mariah has been really good. But when you look back on the feud, you are looking back on when you look back on the Rockers had some great matches. You look back on the Rockers, you see him smashing Jannetty through the glass. That's the Rockers defining moment. Toni Storm's defining moments are often out of the ring in this character. That's why I'm not criticising her at all in the ring. She's fucking brilliant. But as I said, as a character, I think she's definitely going to be hard to argue.
I think in AEW, like, she's the best. Like, I guess you could say all-rounder, like, performer. Like, when you think of AEW women's division, for a while, the only one you could say was Britt Baker, but now I think of Toni Storm immediately. When you ask about AEW women's division,
I'm looking forward to her next feud now because we've only seen this
this has all been centered around Mariah, isn't it? Really?
So now what are we gonna see from her? Who's she gonna go after? Like, the dynamics of her being this larger than life character feuding with Mercedes, who's like a WWE piss take to some extent, the way her character is with the CEO and everything. The dynamics of that could be interesting. Plus, the matches are going to be fucking brilliant. I'm very interested to see what Toni does after she's probably loses the world title to Megan Bayne, like to move away from Mariah for a while.
That's going to be really telling, isn't it? Like, because this whole feud, this whole star-making feud, has been just around the one opponent, and there's been the one story rather. And then now it's kind of like, okay, how do you go? How do you take this in another direction? What other layers can you add to Toni's character? Because I think she's, we said earlier, she's 29 years old and she's still at the peak. She's just entering like the peak of her career almost. So I think this character has legs, definitely, based on what I've seen, and I think she can be brilliant. I don't doubt it for a second. I think it's a little early to say that she's the best women's wrestler of all time at the moment, but I think all the ingredients are there, I think. So
agreed. Yeah, if she finished tomorrow, then probably not. No, I wouldn't say she was the best of all time, but she's only 29. She's got another 10 years at her peak. I think if she carries on the way she is, she'll absolutely go down as the greatest of all time. I would put her at number one in AEW in any division, men or women. I think maybe the only ones coming close to her for character work are maybe MJF and Hangman. In ring, I'd say she's certainly top 3 in the women's division.
Yeah. I think Statlander and Mercedes are the only two that I would say definitively I think are probably better in ring than her, in my opinion. They're the two that I look at.
I wouldn't compare anyone to Mercedes, to be honest, at this point. No. But
like in the ring,
Yeah. So I think she's well on her way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think Jamie Hayter is a shout in for almost best in ring, like along with like Statlander, Willow, and Mercedes, like you say. Athena, when she eventually gets called up, can be looped into that conversation as well. But yeah, Toni, in terms of character, is head and shoulders above everybody else.
She's been the best character since all. Let's say since All In 2023. She's been the best character in wrestling. Not women's character, not just in AEW. She has been the best character in professional wrestling since she started this. Since she started the storyline with Mariah, basically, but even slightly before that, she's been perfection. Everything about her has been amazing. Wrestling's MVP of 2024, 2025.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So, I'll just rattle through a couple more like quick fire questions here. We've answered that one about whether it's Hangman Swerve or Hangman Mox. It's a bit too late in the episode to go through the Dynasty card, Mo's. I'm sorry. We might get to that next week when we know a bit more of the direction. But we've already talked about some possible matches on there.
Very quickly, it is quite interesting. The All In card seems clearer than the Dynasty card. It's 2.5 months
it does, doesn't it?
Because when you said that, I know we're not going to go in depth on it, but I thought, right, we know the main event. We know Swerve, Mox, and Matt. What else do we know we're definitely going to get? And then I sat there and thought, I actually don't know. Which is interesting. It's intriguing anyway.
Yeah, I think off the top of my head, I think Hurt Syndicate murder machines, perhaps, if they if they carry on the way they've been going. I'm not sure. Again, it's hard to say exactly. Toni, Megan Bayne, we've already talked about. Um,
Ricochet, Kenny Omega.
oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, Ricochet, Kenny.
I think Ricochet's going to win the 4-way on Wednesday.
That's a good shout. Yeah, forgot about that. I guess it kind of ties into another question, which was about where do they go with Takeshita and Fletcher. That's from Aaron. I'd have Fletcher personally go after a singles title. I thought whether it's Kenny or whether it's Adam Cole after the collision match with Garcia coming up when he wins, I'd have Fletcher personally do that. If Takeshita. I mean, we saw that I'm glad that they didn't like immediately like forget about him. Doing like the whole Max Caster Open Challenge thing. But remember, I think Takeshita's going to prepare for the G1 coming up soon. So I think that will take up a lot of his time. But I do think that we will later on this year, not immediately later on this year, we will start to see the split of Takeshita from the Callis family. Because it clearly he's popular as hell. He works for 3 different promotions right now. He's a star to be made, and I think that I love him as a heel, but I do think that the end goal is to have Takeshita split from the Callis family, but I don't think it will happen anytime soon.
Him and Fletcher could have a great little feud.
Well,
I'd love it.
Well, here's a little curveball. Like now you talk about Takeshita. Like I said, I think hopefully Cole wins the TNT title on Saturday, and like you said, Fletcher, I think should be the next man up. It should be a very short run for Cole, in my opinion. I would go this. You know what? I know I said Fletcher and Cole at All In. No, now that you bring up Takeshita, I would have Fletcher take the belt at Double or Nothing off of Cole. And I think this has perfect timing in a sense. Like you have All In Texas, which is a month, if I'm correct, a month before the G1 starts. Yeah. You could do Takeshita versus Fletcher for the TNT title. Fletcher wins the first one, goes away for a while because he's in the G1. He's in the G1 tournament. Then you could come back at whether it's Wrestle Dream in October or Full Gear in November. I mean, for the rematch in a sense, but the months leading up, that's where the eventual split between Takeshita and the Don Callis family is already on its way.
That's true. I think I don't know if I don't think they've announced the dates for the G1 this year, but last year's was between late July until early August. So I think that will take place after All In, then, won't it? If we're going to go by those dates, or will All In sort of fall in the middle?
No, All In is July 12th. So yeah, like you said, I think last year
it's after. Yeah.
Okay. So like I said, that's kind of the perfect way you could write off Takeshita after the loss, and like he's off for the next couple of months from AEW television and comes back in September, and you kind of start turning the wheels on that split from Takeshita to the Don Callis family. And it's been rare like rematches between title feuds. But I mean, listen, those are 2 young studs right there for the next 5-10 years, Fletcher and Takeshita. So I think it's perfectly fine to do those both.
The G1's going to start within a week of All In.
After?
A week after, yeah. The last 3 have all started between July the 13th and July the 19th.
Yeah, so I think then Takeshita will be announced for it. Personally, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes on to win it this year, considering the showing he had last year, and whether that's a big part of him, like his next sort of arc is him winning the IWGP title and in the Tokyo Dome in January in 2026. I wouldn't be surprised if that's like what the end goal, like the next milestone for him. But I'd love Fletcher Takeshita. But yeah, I think Fletcher desperately needs like a title now. Like he's like Ospreay's made a proper single star out of him now, which is probably one of like Ospreay's accomplished a lot, but I think that's one of his biggest accomplishments now is he's put over Fletcher big time, even after this feud. So I think Fletcher now really needs a singles belt. I think he needs it more than Adam Cole. So I'm happy just get the TNT off Garcia one way or another. And yeah, put it on Fletcher. I would have said Buddy Matthews because he's another one who needs a singles title. But if they do Grand Slam Australia February, that could be your next match is Buddy Matthews versus Kyle Fletcher for one of the for probably for the TNT. Let's say that could be a featured match. Give them 30 minutes, watch them go, and do it in a stadium this time.
No, I'm gonna disagree with the Buddy Matthews one. I think, yeah, I'd love him to have a singles title, but I think the tag division desperately needs him way more than the singles division does right now. So unless they can build up a few more babyface tag teams, don't put your singles titles on them. But Kyle Fletcher, yeah, absolutely have him be the one to go after Adam Cole. But then there's also the question of, what does Mark Davis do? I wonder if Mark is eventually going to leave the Don Callis family, you know, because they're talking about always being coerced. He's there. He seems quite happy to be there, but maybe there's some jealousy. You know, he wants a singles title, or he wants Kyle to come back for Aussie Open, or he goes and rejoins Ospreay. But yeah, I think before Kyle gets his long singles run, they're going to do something with him and Mark Davis.
That's true. It feels like that's a thing that they need to cross off the list. I'm interested. I don't think Aussie Open are returning anytime soon. It feels like because Kyle's had this major singles push over the last like 6-7 months or so, maybe longer, and it feels like he's at a point now where they need to capitalize on it. The Davis stuff can be bubbling in the background. I think Davis leaves the Callis family sort of fairly soon. I wouldn't be surprised to see it happen in the next sort of couple of months. They do a singles match between Fletcher and Davis down the line, probably at like, you know, leading up to All In before Fletcher's big match. But then in Australia, if they don't do the match with like Fletcher and Buddy, you know, have them reunite for like one night only or something like that. But I don't think, you know, putting Kyle in the tag division like now seems like a downgrade. It feels like they've got a really big young single star on their hands right now. They really need to capitalize on his momentum and his kind of like star power right now, I think.
Oh yeah, I definitely wouldn't put him back in Aussie Open, but I would have Mark Davis like ask for that.
Yeah. I'd love that too. Anyway, I think we're about done there because we've been going nearly 2 hours. You know, it's like we usually do. You know, we could chat wrestling for hours. You know, I've had about 4 glasses of water, so I'm gonna, get stepping straight after this is done. So, anybody got any final thoughts going into Dynamite this week, or anything like that they want to shout about?
A fucking good card. They're not selling tickets for this one. Omaha's a random place to go to. Look, the title match is going to be a lot better than the one on pay-per-view, I'd imagine. I'm really happy we're getting Megan Bayne and Statlander Part 2 already. What else have we got? Well, they're recording Collision as well. They've got the four-way. Of course, we've got the four-way. That's going to be amazing. OC, Davis, we think Ricochet's winning, right? And it'll go down. It's an eliminator, isn't it? So it'll probably go down to Ricochet and Speedball. So I'm going at Excalibur pace here. Ricochet and Speedball will probably be the final two, I'd imagine, there, which will be pretty cool. And then, obviously, they've got the weird Collision double taping, haven't they? 1 hour Saturday, 1 hour Sunday, which is confusing. But interesting.
It's presumably because it follows the NCAA
tournament
and stuff.
Yeah. They're going to get big ratings for that. So they know just doing 1 hour both days is probably quite a clever thing to do. So I'd imagine they'll stack the shit out of that card as well to make people want to see it. We're probably going to get a new TNT champion. And then we've got the hologram commander against Drilistico Beast Mortis. That'll be good fun. I'd imagine they'll stack the shit out of those 2 hours, though, to be fair. And yeah, I think last week was probably the bit of a Revolution hangover. Don't think it was a bad week by any stretch, but I think the show quality probably went from a regular 8.5 out of 10 as of recent down to a 7. So yeah, they've not got long till Dynasty, so the wheels need to get moving.
Who have we all got for the four-way then? Are we all saying Ricochet?
Yeah, it's Ricochet. I think. Yeah. I think Davis is the one. It's Eliminator. Does that mean that they have to be?
No, I thought it was a fatal 4-way.
International Championship Eliminator 4-way. They're calling it.
Yeah, it's an eliminator match. So I think we gotta look up, is it first fall to win? Because I hope it's first fall to win, because I don't want Mike Bailey to take a pin at all.
That's what I mean.
I would assume Davis is in this match to. Yeah. Davis is in the match to take the pin. So if it's just first pinfall to win, Ricochet pins Davis to win.
Yeah. That's what I think. I think Ricochet, Kenny Omega having a blow away match at Dynasty, similar to what maybe not at the same level, but who knows? Stranger things have happened. Maybe the same level to Ospreay and Danielson last year. The big high flying spectacle match, which hopefully makes a start. Ricochet's fucking killed it in this run already.
Yeah.
I'm loving everything that he does, and the match with Kenny Omega, he could draw some serious heat. I'm really looking forward to it. But yeah, it seems Ricochet's the one to sort of do it. I think the eventual Speedball Kenny match can happen later time. Speedball's just debuted. Give him time, give him a few wins, get him in a program with somebody, establish his character, then, down the line, international match, Kenny versus Speedball will be good fun, but it's not happening at Dynasty, I don't think.
No.
So yeah. No, it's a great card. It's AEW's on a real good roll at the moment, despite what people on Twitter say regularly. So this is why I always say it's not that deep. So just form your own opinions. Don't let people like grifters like Bully Ray and Disco Inferno and Bischoff like steer you in another direction. And just make your own opinions. Enjoy what you want to enjoy, and that's all I've got to say on the matter. So with that in mind, I want to say thank you to my co-hosts, to Brett, to Lucy, to Mark. Hope everyone listening has a fantastic week. Thank you again for listening and for interacting with everybody in the Discord. It's so great to see this little community that we built. I'm sorry again about having no video. Unfortunately, it just didn't work. So I'm going to look into it, and hopefully we will have that sorted out by next week, because I promised you this, so I am aware. But in the meantime, everybody here, have a great week. Look after yourselves, and we will see you soon. You
Peace
take
out.
it easy. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. Bye.
But